Well, I will start. Hello, everyone from Purge's chat, by the way. Thanks for watching Purge Gamers. I liked it when you guys watched us play Siltbreaker. It was a lot of fun. Hello, everyone on my chat. Thanks for, being there as well. Let's get this thing started.
Okay, today.
3, 2.
What, you counting down?
3.
Just fucking.
2, 3. 3.
Excuse me?
2, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Slacks Gets Good. Today, our final lesson with Purge Gamers, episode 3. I don't know what happened to episode 2. I hope it comes out. My editor, I think, lost it. So I hope you didn't need to learn anything on that. But episode 3 is going to be lit. Hi, Purge. Thank you for taking your time out to train me on our final training.
You mean verbally abuse you? That's why I come. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Verbally abuse you? That's why I come. That's what your wife says.
every
Let's get into it.
Slacks is a piece of shit. Oh! Yes.
Oh!
Anyways.
So what are we learning?
There's a lot to push into one episode here, but what we basically need to teach you is game tempo and ganking and warding surrounding that. Normally that would be like 2 episodes, but you got cold feet and you're so ready to dive into ranks, so you don't want this to drag out anymore. So we'll just explain everything really quickly. Okay, so first thing, I don't know if this will work, but let me make a custom lobby. And we're just going to look at the map a little bit. Join my team. Actually,
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. And then cheats are on. Okay, cool. And yes, I said my team.
Now we haven't done
okay.
a training session since before the big update.
Yep.
And back then, being a support was super hard. Everything cost money. Now being a support is overpowered. It's broken. I feel like now is the time to gain MMR if you're a support, because observer wards are free. You think that's gonna last forever, buddy?
Observer wards being free, I think so. Yes.
Okay,
Because Ice Frog is basically trying to make Plane 5 less obnoxious, and it definitely is less obnoxious. You can actually get items. In the patch before this, if you're playing Dota correctly, you would maybe be able to finish 1, maybe 2 items. Once Sentry Wards got buffed so much, to the point where like you can spam sentries to try to deward. Once that started happening, then it made the game made the game very expensive for the 5 positions, pretty much. So what we're going to do is... talk about before we talk about wards, we'll talk about that later. I want to talk about map control and stuff like that, and basically where you should be playing. So gonna do. Okay, can you see everything on the map? You kind of fucked me here because now I can't ping. You can't see my pings. Fucking remake, you piece of shit. We have to remake. You can't see my drawings and my
Okay, I know you're very partial about your drawings.
And let's join coach slot. Join Radiant coach slot. I want to see if this works. Could I put like
an empty map?
Okay. I think so. Let's put a bot on.
Passive bots. Exciting.
I don't want them to. Somebody has to join Radiant. Okay, let's both join Radiant then. And
Okay.
turn the bots off. So, the map is not asymmetrical, or it's asymmetrical, right? It's not equal on both sides. There's some weird shit going on.
There's always an advantage on one side or another.
So what that means is that there is a ideal place. Just pick any hero, it doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter. You can press the random button. Okay. It doesn't. Basically, there's certain places on the map that are best to fight and play with your team. You understand that based on like cliff spots and things like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Why are there still bots? I thought I turned those off.
For example, when you're playing Jungle Alchemist in Ags Rush, much better to be on Dire because the creep camps are so close together, as opposed to Radiant. So yeah. And I think I have a higher win percentage as techies on Radiant.
Everybody has a higher win rate on Radiant.
As techies, though.
All
right.
Literally everybody. Radiant has a higher win rate. It's like a 5% win advantage.
Okay, well, not everybody, but...
Yes, literally all heroes, I'm pretty sure, have a higher win rate on Radiant side. Anyways.
Okay.
Okay, so first thing first, let's pause the game. Let's imagine that. All right, I'll just jump straight to it. Basically,
Okay.
it is better for the Dire team to play in their off lane after like the 8 to 10 minute mark than it is for them to play in their safe lane. So to make sense of that, when you're playing on the Dire, look at the Radiant tier 1 tower at bottom, and look how
Yep.
many different paths there are to diving this.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure.
You can
I know
dive this way, you can dive this way, you can dive this way, you can go over here and cut trees and dive this way, you can cut a tree here and dive this way. There's like a billion different ways that you can jump onto the tower and dive people there, which basically means that it's difficult to defend that. And there's also a lot of paths to get into the lane. You can go this way, you can go this way, you can go this way, you can go this way. There's like a billion different ways to like approach the tower. So that means that defending yourself against people approaching your lane becomes difficult. So that means that it's dangerous for the Radiant team to play here, even though it is a tower. If we look at the Dire tier 1, it's a similar thing. You can go this way, you can cut trees here, cut trees here, cut trees here, go this way.
You gotta cut trees though. That's worse.
That's really tough to have a Tango or a Quelling Blade in the early game. You're so right. A single one. You can cut this tree here. Can you see this? Let me unpause so that you can see exactly where the ping is. This tree, that's an easy path through. Hey, look, this single tree and this single tree. There's 3 different tree spots that you only have to cut. Oh, you could cut this tree too. There's multiple spots. There's a lot of different ways. You can cut this tree and go like through here.
There's a lot of trees. And you taught me this on our laning episode for playing support because it's easier to duck back into your trees.
Yes, that's true. But the important thing here is that there's a place on the map that you're supposed to play effectively. And the other thing to remember is that you only have so much time, of course. So that means you only have so much time to place wards, place sentries, and that kind of stuff. So it's generally better to play where it's most effective for your team. So around the 10-minute mark, you usually want to play up on the safe lane. So what ends up happening sometimes in some games is that there are people kind of like drag their feet on not going where is best for the team, basically, because once you play in this area, there's a decent chance that you can win a team fight as a result of those advantages. Then you take the tier 1 tower, and then when the tier 1 tower is gone, let's say the Dire one, if this Dire tier 1 tower is gone, it basically opens up the whole map, because now there's like a billion different ways for you to get into the enemy jungle. And it's relatively easy for you to make sure that you have denied vision in that area. And then once you're basically playing here, it's very easy to jump back between the top tier 2 and the mid tier 1. And that means that your opponents don't necessarily know where you are and where you're going to strike. So it basically like blocks off this side of the map for them. They just can't really safely play here if you keep your wards up and make sure they don't have wards. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to kill your tower, and then they're going to play basically here. So then you do some mixture of like trying to defend your tier 1 towers and also making sure that you can pressure successfully as well. And if you're really far ahead and you're crushing really well here, then you can even have one player that's fairly safe push out the off lane, and as a result basically get farm from that wave as well. So the whole purpose of this talking point is that it's very easy at the 10-minute mark to be like, well, I just keep going back to my lane, right? But in reality, you should very often like rotate to the off lane, even with a carry sometimes. Like the carries will rotate from the safe lane, they'll go to the off lane and start pushing it out. And that's really good to have like two supports there to basically sit behind the tower like this to be ready to dive if anybody shows up. Because if you get those kills, you get the tower. And that's the next part. This should be your equation for late game. Push lanes, because lanes when lanes are pushed, the creeps are on the tower. And then if enemy heroes TP to the tower to defend those lane pushes, you jump out of the trees and you fucking kill them. And if you do that really fast, their other allies that aren't there yet are going to be like, well, that tower's fucking dead. And if that works, you have a dead tower. You have completed a step. And then you continue it to the next area. So what's important for executing this is, number one, they don't know that you're fucking hiding there. They might know that you're there-ish, but they won't know for sure you're there. And the reason that's important is because if your carry is pushing up to the tower and your supports are sitting over here and they see your supports, you're going to get 5 fucking TPs under that tower before the first guy comes out and shows himself. And then when you jump out to kill him, they're already there because they have that information. So what this goes towards is you cannot let them know that you're there, which means you have to win the wording game. And this is where you're going to have to change your behavior. If you're playing hard support, you got to start buying sentries, and you got to start buying a lot of sentries.
Hooray! Okay.
Because it is all about the wards. Go ahead.
A few questions. So one of the biggest things I want to ask you about being a good support is you're constantly telling me to leave the lane. Now, when you're playing support and you're winning your lane, you're killing the other guys in the other lane, you're denying them all XP, your carry is like a level or two ahead. Why would then I leave? Because if I stay, he continues to free farm. But if I leave and try to help another lane, and let's say that help doesn't go well, maybe, God forbid, we die.
What you're saying is all correct, like your understanding of the logic, but you're probably misinterpreting my statement at the time when I say leave the lane. What you were probably doing is standing in the lane next to me when nobody's there. Which means that what you're supposed to do instead is leave the lane to pull, or leave the lane to do something else proactive. But if you just stand there next to me in the creep wave and nobody's there, you're wasting your time. Yes, you're splitting experience with me, but we're not, as a team, getting more experience. We're still getting the same amount of experience. We're just splitting it equally. It'd be more effective if you spent your 30 seconds or your 45 seconds to go into the jungle quick to stack a camp, and then come back, or to pull. That way, you can get extra experience by the jungle creeps dying.
Now, a lot of the times where I leave the lane to go ward, and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna leave now. Don't die. I gotta go ward. I gotta go do something. The carry always dies, or they, get pushed out. And it's like their comeback time from the other side. And I guess the way to make sure that doesn't happen is, as you said, is to not be in vision. Because if you're not in vision, they don't know when you've left or when you've come back. And
that would help, yes.
Probably the biggest problem that I have is I like to be in their face and very dominant, even as like range support heroes. But you're right. Playing around the fog makes it so that they don't know it's an opportunity to kill somebody.
That's correct.
So, okay, good.
So that's why it's good to play this like you want to play like a ninja, basically. When you want to show yourself when it's already too late and you're killing somebody. It's like you show up and you have the knife on somebody's back already, and then you just push it in, and then you hide in the shadows again. And
just graphic.
And from their perspective, you only come out when they're out of position. And if you put them into that mindset, they're going to be really scared to do anything aggressive. So that's why not showing is really important. So if you like show up to, let's say I'm talking about this, okay, you're rotating to the off lane. Let's say the creep wave is like right here, like by the outpost, and you TP in the lane because you know this is where you have to play. What you don't do is you don't TP in the lane and just fucking walk up straight and nuke the wave and keep going. Because now they know, oh shit, Lion's in my lane. Let's say you're Lion. Okay, Lion's in the top lane now. Now they have to consider that you're there. What you do instead is you TP under the tower. You maybe put a sentry on this cliff spot to make sure that they don't have vision there, so that they don't know that you're there. And then you walk over here and get in the jungle. Once you're in the jungle, this is mostly seen as invisibility territory. They probably don't have vision there. And then you let your core push the lane up that way, and you get in position ready to dive in, either to cut a tree or to wrap around. Because again, you don't want them to know that you're here. So anytime you lane swap, you should almost always TP to the lane, don't walk next to the creep wave, get in the jungle, and then maybe turn it into a gank. It's always better that way because it becomes a surprise, and that's not something they're going to be able to react to either with teleports or other things. And then if you get those kills, then they're going to again say, we got a dead hero, we probably can't defend now. Tower becomes easy. And this is all based on vision. So it's very, very important that not only that you're just careful, but that the next level would be placing wards. Technically, you're still at the be careful step where you're still giving people vision more often than you probably should, but there's no way that you can't also start accomplishing that with sentry wards. So so that is basically like the 10 to 15 20 minute plan, somewhere in there. Taking the tier 1 tower, invading the enemy jungle, putting wards down to basically give you coverage at spots like these maybe, and making sure maybe you have one on their shrine, and then also having sentries to make sure that they don't have wards.
Now, okay, real talk. 10 minutes though, I mean, I do that kind of stuff at like 20 or 30.
It's because you're bad.
The whole team is okay. Well, the whole team is roaming then. I mean, having vision on somebody farming the jungle at 10 minutes. I can't rally 2 other people to go with me and kill that guy, or one other person.
Well, we're not talking.
What's the point of having vision?
We're not necessarily talking about killing guys in the jungle. It's more about, and technically we haven't even talked about obs that much. I just mentioned them for the first time. Of your obs, that is. I'm more talking about their vision this whole time. So, so you're saying, so to clarify your question now, you're saying that why would I put wards in their jungle if I can't get my teammates to come over here? Is that correct?
Well, I mean, there's no point. You can see them farming, but you won't be able to get enough power to go kill them.
Why is that the case?
Because it's still the laning phase at 10 minutes, isn't it?
Well, 10 minutes is... Well, one thing to remember, there's 3 lanes. You probably want 1 hero in every single lane hitting creeps. Yeah. For maximum gold and experience efficiency. That gives you 2 extra heroes, basically, right? So, where these ganks are usually happening are in lanes. because when you push a creep wave out, let's say you push the creep wave out up to the tower and you only show your offlane hero, that looks like a 1v1. Someone's going to TP under it, then you basically jump out of the and ninja stab them, you know? That's the whole point, is that the ganks are mostly happening in the lanes. They don't have to be in the jungle. If people are AFK jungling, it's less efficient. So what's happening at your level probably is that people are playing so passively themselves and they're jungling too much, and as a result, your opponents can get away from jungling themselves. But if all of your cores are sitting in lanes and pushing lanes, that's creeps on towers. And creeps on towers means that people need to react.
Got it.
So what's probably not happening... Vision is important, and pushing lanes is important. So think of how creep waves function. Let me turn off all vision again. We'll see if this works. Okay, I don't know the command to turn off all vision, but you know how like
real talk. While you're in showcase mode, while you're paused, go to showcase mode and look at Broodmother.
His little
Very
jaws.
Scary. You see those jaws? What the fuck's going on? That's terrifying. All right, anyway, continue.
So you know how creeps are your primary vision source, right?
Yeah.
Imagine, like, wherever your creeps are, you basically feel semi-comfortable being behind that, right? Because if your creeps are up here, that means that there's not as high of a chance that an enemy squad is standing right here waiting for you to come kill them. So that's another reason that pushing creeps is so valuable. Number one, it gives you more vision, because the creep wave, if it goes all the way up to here, means that the enemies are probably scared to run this way. So that means you're pretty safe in this general area, assuming that they don't have vision. So that is the other reason to push creep waves. The other one is that they give far more experience in gold than neutral creeps do, and you can kill them way faster. It only takes like 2 AoE nukes basically to kill an entire creep wave. So your basic goal as a core, and these are some lessons that you don't understand or are familiar with because you almost never play cores, but the most efficient way to farm as a core is to quickly kill a creep wave, say here, and then as the creeps go up to push the tower, you don't necessarily want to run up there because it can be kind of scary. People can like TP in behind the tower and jump out and kill you, you know. What's better is to quickly kill the creeps here, and then you run to the jungle to do a neutral camp in between. And then when the next creep wave comes, you come out of the jungle again, you kill the neutral camp, which pushes the wave, which pushes towards the tower again, and then you go back and do the neutral camp again. Is usually how cores will farm at almost all stages of the game. You push the wave until you don't feel safe anymore, then you go back to the jungle, and it basically means that once this tier 1 tower is dead on the top lane, you're going to spend a lot of time as a core pushing lane and keeping it about here. You push this, you go boom, 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 hit these 3 neutral camps, come back and do it again, rinse, repeat. That's a really fast farming pattern. And in the meantime, the enemy team doesn't feel fucking safe to walk past this line anymore, which means there's basically no chance they get your outpost because you're consistently keeping the lane pushed out. Now, if you don't
what does this have to do with vision?
Sorry, well, that's actually ironic because I was literally about to say that. Now, if you're pushing up here as a core and you don't have vision here or over here, they're just gonna fucking kill you because you're gonna push up to here, and eventually there's gonna be like, why is that guy by our 2-2 tower? They're gonna run like this, and they're gonna jump on you with like 3 heroes, and you're gonna fucking die. And then what's gonna happen? Because you're dead, they're gonna push the lane out all the way up to here, and now look where you're at. Your vision sucks. You don't feel comfortable going past this line. It's much more difficult for you to feel safe taking the outpost because they probably took it. And now if you look at the map, they're going to have control like this, which is more of the map and therefore more resources. So if you don't have good vision in this area, after you take the tier 1 tower, what this does is it prevents your carries and your cores from safely pushing the lane to here and then taking these 3 camps.
Okay.
Which means that if...
This is huge. This is very good. Because I always feel like my life right now is just pushing lanes, taking outpost, pushing it up to the tower, TPing down to the other side, taking the other outpost, watching the outpost I just took get going on. But the reason that my carries don't push and why I constantly have to push everything is because they're too scared because they don't have vision.
Yeah, they're scared
vision,
and they're bad.
Scared. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're scared and they're bad. They're too scared to push themselves because they're terrified to do without vision. Lower level players are very often way too inclined towards just jungling because they know it's safe, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to get close to the enemy team. They're just in the jungle. They're like, oh, this is all fine, no problem. But the real gold is from the creep waves and doing those farming patterns through the neutral camps. Like, you know when you played Luna with me before and I get like insane fucking farm? That's because I push lanes and then I can jungle super fast because Luna's glaive bounces. So if I
always scream at my carries, get the fuck out of the jungle, but now I understand why they don't want to. It's because I'm not putting vision to make their lives safe. So if I can do that, then they'll do what I want them to do, and I don't have to tell them what to do. That's good manipulation tactic. I like that.
Yes, and remember, it's not just about you having vision. That is an important concept, but it's also about your opponents not having vision. Because imagine if your carry pushes up to here, and they don't have vision of this area behind. They have no fucking idea how many supports are here, you know?
So how do you deal with the sadness of getting a sentry ward and not getting anything? Because I buy sentry
Excuse me?
wards.
Do you know how much gold you get from a ward kill? You don't, because you probably never bought a...
No, I do it. I only buy a sentry, though, when I know a ward is there. And I know that's not how you're supposed to do it as a support. You're supposed to just, like, go to the normal spots, put it there, just check just in case. But I literally won't buy one unless I see someone walk up, put a ward down, and walk away. Is that bad?
That's bad. That's really bad.
Okay. Why is that bad?
For everything that I just explained. If your carry...
Well, I understand.
Look,
but
if you're...
how do you know? Aren't you scared you're just wasting your money?
Yes. Every sentry I put down. If I put 3 sentries and I don't find a ward, I feel real bad. But
okay,
if you want to increase your chance... If you want to put your team in the best possible game state, which is your carries pushing lanes really aggressively and then jungle spinning, and then pushing lane again and keeping pressure on the map, which is... That's all they're doing. They're farming, but they're pressuring. So they don't even have to get kills. If you don't have sentries to protect and make black space behind them, then your opponents are much more likely to gank them. Much more likely to gank them. So the most common places, if you're playing Radiant, to deward are spots near the shrine. Because that's going to see, oh, people are TPing in to try to kill them. And it also spots like lots of pathways in. This is like the main pathway into the jungle is like right here. So this spot is very, very easy to deward usually. Because the wards are usually like right here on the cliff, or they're maybe like over here on the ground, or maybe they're a little deeper. I mean, those are basically the 2 main spots. Like
Can
here.
you unpause? I'd like to take some ward looking. Now,
do you want to buy a ward on your... Yeah, buy. Perfect.
How do you feel about putting wards up on the high groundy thing?
That one,
Typically, I'll
extremely
only
good.
I put a sentry up there because it's so easy to find the ward, right?
Yes, but here's another trick that will save you some money. I'm going to turn WTF on. Hopefully these heroes don't catch. You might want to buy like a heart, because I didn't know they were going to be neutral or heroes in the game, but... Okay, so... Oh, you better run...
Ah! How do you make money?
Dash gold. Okay, so... Take a look at that sentry and what it does.
Yeah. Oh, that's a large area. Thank you.
Do you see the area? The
AOE. Yeah.
So it encompasses the cliff. The downside to this is that I don't have a ward, so I wouldn't be able to easily check unless I have a blink dagger or force staff. I can now check, and the reason that I'm what, does that creep you out?
Continue. All right. So anyway.
So the reason that I want a sentry like this is because it's going to spot more areas. Basically, the beginning level of ward play is that a lot of people will do the lazy one. They'll put the sentry up there because it gives them vision, and now they know, okay, there's no ward. But then I'm going to look at that AoE. If you click on the ward, and it goes like this. So what I would just do is put my observer ward here, slightly outside of the typical AoE range. That way, their basic bitch sentries are less likely to catch me. And now this is the next level one, where I put a sentry where it spots the top hill, but it also gets these wider areas. Like, I'd be more likely to get a ward over here, for example.
Sure, and that's what I do. I usually put, like, the observers here, and I avoid these spots. But is this one just too good?
They're really good sometimes. It's kind of like a feeling thing. Sometimes it's going to feel like the right thing to do, sometimes not. If you place them at abnormal times, like let's say we haven't taken this tier 1 yet, and I go down here and I cliff ward here. That's like an abnormally deep observer ward, so they're probably not going to sentry that location because it's still too early. But that might also make the ward not very effective, but that's like a common thing. This ward is very commonly warded by Radiant Squad during the laning stage, and sometimes even Dire. But as the game continues, maybe this one isn't going to be warded as often. So it's more about like you're going to be fighting up a hill a little bit because of the fact that you haven't placed a single ward in the last 15 years, but so you're gonna have to get used to patterns and stuff. But every time the map changes, warding changes quite a bit as well, so you'll start figuring things out about that. So yeah, making sure that this is dewarded when you have the tier 1 tower dead is really important. Making these areas these are like the 3 most common spots. This cliff spot, a spot here, and somewhere over here. Those are like the 3 most common spots for Dire to ward if they're trying to defend their jungle. Now, let's imagine that we're on Radiant and we lost our tier 1. Okay, so we'll pause again. All this is basically scary now. Does that mean we want a ward to protect our jungle?
Yes.
No, probably.
But why? Because we want to open that area back up. We want to reclaim the jungle, so at least we could do something. Right?
We want to reclaim the jungle if we feel like stronger at fighting our opponents, but sometimes it's fine to just leave it dark. That's if your players are not garbage. So maybe you do need to want to ward it at least a little bit. They're probably going to complain because they're going to be like, well, of course I can go down there. But the reality is that they should be playing up here and over here and maybe a little bit here. So maybe try to sneak like a ward down there somewhere. That's a little abnormal, but like maybe this spot on this cliff here could be kind of nice. That way it'll be more obvious if they swing in this way. But
yeah, that's what I usually do. If they're very strong, I'll put like a ward up here because I can feel that after this goes down, they're going to want to move in and kill mid and put a lot of pressure there.
But the problem is that if you go down there and you do warding and dewarding missions, then it spends your time and you're not going to end up with wards on the other side of the map. And again, it's about playing what's going to give you the highest chance to do well and win team fights and have good map control. And the reality is that playing up here is usually better, especially because as Radiant, it also unlocks Roshan. If you're playing and you have control of this area, it's like impossible that the Dire team Roshans, because now it's on your half of the map. And another negative about Radiant playing down here is you don't have a shrine anymore. So it's more difficult to TP. That doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't play top because they have a shrine, but it's another reason that it's not as safe for Radiant to play down there.
Now, I think there's one thing I am good at, and it's knowing when to ward what part of the jungle. And I feel like a lot of people are bad at that. I actually hate that wards are free now because you'll get some shit support and you're losing, and they'll put all their wards are aggressive. That's the worst.
I am sure that is like the smallest occurrence ever. Bad supports warning aggressive. Bro, bad supports ward defensively far too often. They'll like place wards on their side of the map like this. All that does is protect the space behind it.
Yeah.
And that's not that important. What's more important is usually warding a little bit past that to see when enemies cross that boundary and are coming to fucking murder you. Those wards are more important. Because if you have a ward, like this is my least favorite spot for Radiant players to ward. I fucking hate it. What does it protect? This one camp, but it doesn't even help you that much because it basically shows like, oh shit, they're coming right here and they're about to kill you. It's like too late, you know? It's better for this ward to be up. That way you see them walking this way. And then you can feel comfortable farming like 2 camps instead or 3 camps. So warding on the enemy side of the map is usually more important.
So what about smoke? How important is it to take smoke in these warding missions? I consider it pretty much a necessity.
Mandatory.
I never go out without smoke. It's mandatory.
Yeah, you always smoke when you ward because you never keep up on the warding game is what's happening. You are behaviorally trained to die when you ward because you don't do a good job controlling the map and dewarding ever. So the only time you ever ward is in like extreme circumstances where you don't have map control. That is why it feels like you always have to smoke. But to tell you the truth, the amount of times that I've placed wards while smoked in the last like 100 games is probably less than 5. Genuinely.
Really? That's great. Well, don't they see you warding if they have a ward and then your ward's ruined?
Sometimes, but I also deward a lot of people's wards. And therefore, when I kill a ward, if I take like 5 sentries and I deward like 2 wards in this area, they probably don't have more wards. Because think of how many wards could, like usually when you ward, you make like a line, right? So let's say I place a ward like right here. Where's the next ward going to be? I'll probably put it somewhere over here, right? And then maybe I'll put another ward like, I don't know, like over here or something. I'll put them in a line. So if you deward a ward here, you know that they're not going to have a ward right here on top of it. Unlikely, because they probably don't basically double ward the same spot, you know? So then the next place I'm going to start looking is over here somewhere. So I might use a sentry to check this area, and I might use a sentry to check this area.
All right. Now I'm going to say something to you. This is not a joke. And I want you to take it very seriously.
Is it what are attributes?
No. Okay. The question is, I believe inherently in my heart, one of the best secret things to do to win Dota games is economy drain from the enemy team. Okay. That's why I spam so much in the laning phase. I just keep making them buy salves and all that shit. One of my favorite things to do is go to a place that I know is probably warded, stand in front of ward cliffs for a couple seconds, and then walk away like I put a ward down, and then do that all the time.
Wow.
So that they buy sentries, and there's never anything there. And they think to themselves, surely he must be putting down wards because we're dying. But the trick is we're just ganking blindly. And then they just spend all their money on sentries, and they never get the money back. That's why I never buy wards, Purge. Now, is that crazy? Is that crazy?
There is a semblance of validity by the resource denial. They are spending 75 gold per sentry, but
I thought it was 100.
they're 75 now.
God.
Yes.
That's great.
But all of this fucking time you're standing looking at cliffs could be used to hit creeps or get this kill enemy heroes or get this set up ganks. And if you kill a hero, you get like 200 gold.
But
and probably a level.
Jungle, if you go in the jungle blind and you get a pick on the a jungling person, they always think that there's a ward there. So the poor support is going to spend 2 or 3 wards just like you. Oh, where is it? But there never was.
Okay,
one.
so Slacks, how often do these blind movements into the jungle work out for you and your team?
I don't know. It's impossible to know.
I would have to say it's going to be less than 50%.
Okay.
And how do you get to the jungle? Do you smoke with your team? You're basically just like, team, it's time. We haven't done anything in a long time. 4 of us get together. Stop farming. Come to me. Smoke. We're gonna run blind into a fucking jungle, and maybe we'll see a guy. And if we see a guy, maybe we'll see him before he sees us, and maybe we'll execute the gank correctly. And if that works out, they just might put sentries in their jungle. That's what you're saying.
That is exactly how I do it, actually. A lot more cursing and calling people pussies, but yes, that is actually exactly how I do it. So that is ineffective. Because if we don't find someone, then why did we go in the jungle?
And your carries could have been farming and pushing out lanes the whole time.
Yes.
Or hitting neutral creeps, or blah blah blah. Now, if you do smoke ganks like this, you should always place wards as you go.
That I do. Yeah, I love that.
And that's the few cases that I do place wards while I'm smoked. The reason I place wards while smoked like that is because I'm trying to spot my opponents before we spot them. Because if your smoke breaks at the same time as them, this is why smoke ganking at night with no vision is fucking stupid. Because by the time your smoke breaks, you know somebody's nearby, but you have no idea where they are, probably.
Well,
your vision range is 800. Smoke break range is like a little bit over 1,000.
I do blind smokes all the time when you're against
1,025. That works.
Yeah,
but that's because they're invisible. But
to find invisible heroes, you smoke and then you bring a dust and then
smoke breaks and you pop dust.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
I just feel like you don't need to do that very much these days. But it's fine. It's fine. I'm not criticizing that. I'm just saying that I don't do that very often. So my assumption is that it's not as relevant right now. But just probably because sentry wards are so good right now is the main reason why. They last for a really long time compared to the past. The radius is huge. They last 8 minutes, and their radius is 1,000. Sentries are like god tier for finding invisible heroes. So my point being that you don't need to do that smoke to find an invisible hero as often nowadays because sentries are so good that it's just generally is unnecessary. So I wouldn't recommend that as like a common method. Anyways,
so when do you buy your first ward? Besides the first 2 that come out for free, when do you say, okay, it's time to get some vision on the map? What time should I be really thinking, okay, stop what I'm doing?
I mean, you bring out item components to your support hero all the time, right?
Yes.
Why not bring a ward out? Or 2. Get this, there's 0 gold. It costs you nothing.
Yeah.
As a Radiant safe laner, I like to ward here or here. Because what that does is helps me spot where the 2 heroes are. If they're running this way, if they're going to go for bounties, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe the cliff spot over here. As a Dire laner, I like to ward here. I like to ward the cliff spot. I might ward over here. I might ward a little bit more left here. Something like this to control the safe lane. If my mid laner doesn't have a ward, I'll TP to the mid after a respawn after dying or something, feeding, etc. I'll put a ward maybe here. I might sneak over here during nighttime and put a ward over here. Something like that. Some ward in the middle, and then I'm going to run back top. So if
question, you said as Dire you put a ward here at this area,
right in front of it, like here. Basically, I'll show you the exact place. Basically in front of the trees, like right here.
Yeah,
somewhere like this.
No problem.
That
I
way
thought
it
you said
spots.
You put them over here. That'd be pretty stupid.
No, I could put one right here. Yeah, something like this could be good because it's common pathways, right?
Why is that good?
Because when enemies are coming to invade your safe lane, it is not uncommon for them to go this way or for them to walk this way, and then boom, they get spotted here as they try to go like this. Because that's the whole purpose of these wards. I want to spot rotations from other heroes. Let's say the enemy mid hides, ducks into a tree, and then TP's top right here. What their whole purpose, that's a penis, is coming top to gank. And that those lane wards are going to see that, and then your carry can know, like, okay, this shit's getting dangerous. I'm going back to jungle for a bit. Or maybe they'll back up and hide, and they'll TP to the bot lane, and then they can turn that into a push, for example.
Okay. Roger.
So that's the
I've learned
purpose.
a lot.
That's the purpose of warding and protect the safe lane. And again, same for mid. If the mid doesn't have a ward, he's going to need it. If I respawn, I'll have buy 2 wards. I'll TP mid like here. I'll put a ward down in the mid lane, maybe a sentry, and that'll just run all the way top. Just get it done.
Okay.
Put the ward down just to protect your team a little bit to help spot ganks.
That's going to be difficult to remember. Typically, I only buy wards when we're pushing uphill.
What do you have for your
that's
pinned
what-
items in your shop? Open your shop.
What is a pinned item? Oh, I've never seen this.
All right. This is what I pin. I pin, observe. What?
What is a pin? Is this just for every game? It does
You
this?
see that little pencil
Yeah.
to the right? Press that pencil.
The fuck? It has raindrops?
Now drag that raindrop off there. Perfect. Or just
Bye-bye.
replace it with something else. How about a tome of experience?
Oh, then I can know when the... Okay, nice.
Wow. Doesn't that look useful? Bottle? Fuck bottle. What's a common item you buy in the early game? Soul Ring recipe maybe? Should we put there?
Yeah, we'll put Soul Ring recipe. I'll just put the Soul Ring in general there.
You probably shouldn't, but whatever.
Okay.
Could be. I put a Windlace there myself because that's like a common item that's small that I'll buy quickly in the early game. Magic Stick could work, for example.
what's the point? I mean,
Are you trying to make
it's
fun
the
of me
same-
right now about buying
No.
Windlace? You piece of shit.
No. It's the same thing as clicking on the thing. Why? What's up with pinned items? This doesn't seem like it does.
Are those items that you buy every fucking game? The pinned items.
These?
The pinned items.
No, well, they have wards and smoke and dust in them, so no. But they probably should be items I buy every game.
How often are you like TPing to a lane and then you're like you realize they have a Shadow Blade and you're like, oh shit, I need a dust. And then you're like, where the fuck is the dust? How often does that happen? Never.
I just give up. They have the Shadow Blade. I'll get the dust later. There's.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
What about like
I'm gonna
they're
replace
basically
these.
they're basically items that you buy often. You play support. I think your pinned items should genuinely be those items and they should stay. I'm trying to get my foot rest.
I am gonna get a. I'm gonna put a salve in there. There's
Okay.
a lot of times where I'm TPing in the lane and I see my carry going gone on and I'm like, oh shit, I should get a salve.
Then
save
swap.
his life.
Wait. You remove smoke? No. Swap salve.
Smoke is a very special.
Shut the
moment.
fuck up. Put it on, and I'll tell you why. Smoke
Okay.
for for that, and then put salve where the soul ring is if you really want salve.
Nah, it's all right. It's not that important.
The reason you want smoke there is because you want to see how many smokes you're are sitting there in your shop. I'm pretty sure you can only have up to 2 smokes in your shop at the moment. So if you see that 2, what that means is that you guys are not buying smokes, and you need to fucking buy a smoke because the stock amount will continue accruing. You know, it's like when your observer wards are at 4, it doesn't restock anymore. It just sits at 2.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's okay. So that's very, very bad.
Yes.
That's huge. If you ever see observer wards as 4, you fucked up.
Yes, because
Hard.
the wards are literally not replenishing. So the
my
reason I
God.
want you to look at these pinned items is because when I'm playing support and I'm in base or buying something, I open the shop and I look there and I see how many sentry wards do we have and how many observer wards. And if I see 4, I haven't seen 4 wards there in a game when I was playing support in literally years at this point is what it feels like. I'm not fucking with
Them
you.
all the time.
I never see a 4 ever. That's because if I'm in the base, I buy the fucking wards. And if your sentries are at 10, they can't replenish anymore. You should be buying sentries. I promise you that when you get used to buying like packs of 3 and 4 sentries as a 5, the game will get easier once you get good at dewarding.